My phone says we have 5 seconds. And it's 7 o'clock on my phone too. Yeah, wait till Blaine gives us the thumbs up that we're on air.
They're on air? All right. All right, welcome everybody to the Whitestown Redevelopment Commission meeting. It's November 1st, 7 p.m., Whitestown Municipal Building. Can we get a roll call?
Rob Worrell.
Here.
Mark Pascarella.
Here.
Adam Hess.
Here.
Clinton Baum.
Howdy.
Craig Arthur.
Here.
Elizabeth Keith is absent. And Michael Berg is on the Zoom and muted. You should be able to unmute now.
Yeah, I'm here.
That's it.
That's it. All right. Pledge of allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we've got a couple of presentations this evening.
Recording in progress.
All right. So we've got a couple of presentations this evening, starting off with Resolution 2021-30, approving the Economic Development Agreement for Academy E Mixed-Use Development.
Come on forward.
Yeah. Go ahead, yeah. How are you?
Let's share my screen real quick. Nathan, you control that.
You should be good if you hit the share screen.
Not quite. There we go. Perfect. Members of the Commission, thanks for having me. Brad Vogelsmeyer with Millhouse, local real estate development group at 460 Virginia Avenue, Indianapolis, Indiana, 46203, on behalf of both Millhouse and Academy E. I know this project has been discussed several times over the last several months, and excited to actually have progress in the form of an economic development agreement to present to you all tonight. It's a quick presentation just to recount the project itself, as well as the partnership at the old Rex Auto site on Indianapolis Road, south of Whitestown Parkway, 100-acre project. Millhouse, again, we are a local real estate development shop, vertically integrated, so development, construction, management, asset management, all in-house. Previously, as presented, we actually had a partner of ours outside of Indianapolis working with us, given that this was a youth sports anchored proposed mixed-use project. Over the course of the last several months, we've actually decided to bring that partnership really in-house into the Millhouse platform, and are excited to have Rob Laycock, who is a previous executive with the Atlanta Hawks, and before that with the Indiana Pacers, on board onto our team. He's actually in the process moving to Indianapolis, otherwise he'd be here with us tonight. So excited to meet you all. And so really kind of fusing both these groups together. Again, what we do is real estate under construction right now. If you see it coming out of the ground on Indianapolis Road, our $40+ million project adjacent to the Little League facility. And so from a partnership standpoint, we're excited to be able to execute. Capital backing has not changed. Our commitment to this real estate investment and overall project has not changed. And we're excited to have Rob as a founding partner in-house on our team to help bring the sports concept to fruition, along with some local relationships that we're hopeful to be able to announce here in the coming weeks as well. And so again, see the screen, a few representative examples of all of our projects, including the imagery we've shown regarding the sports facility itself. To reorient you again, apologies for the small imagery here, but the blow-ups of these plans will be included in the EDA, or included in the EDA as well. So we're talking about a $300 to $500 million project over several phases, including this youth sports anchored facility, but it's much more than that. We see this and really the benefit to both families and kids is creating a holistic development here. So thinking about medical office and hotel uses that are really ancillary to that, sports facility, in addition to residential and other mixed use opportunities, potential community center and water park anchored as part of this project as well. And so this is a conceptual plan as you see it on the screen. And so with the bones of this economic development agreement together and now in place, we're really excited to be able to kickstart design even further and get a shovel in the ground as hopefully as soon as possible. And so again, the Millhouse and Academy E team, along with some other local partners who we're excited to announce here in the coming few weeks, are pleased to be able to push this opportunity forward. So with that, I'm obviously happy to answer any questions you all might have, either about the agreement itself or about the partnership between Academy and Millhouse. And with that, I'll leave it to you all.
No, I just want to say that I'm very excited about this project. We started talking about this back at the beginning of the year when we made the announcement that we had got the MOU together. I've been trying to talk to folks about this, this phase of the process, getting the EDA finalized and adopted. We're not just talking about pie in the sky ideas. We're not just saying that we've got an agreement in principle. This is the agreement we move forward on. We're going to be ready to start turning dirt as soon as possible. As Brad alluded to, we're very excited about this project, moving it forward. There's multiple phases, and at each phase, there's different levels of this development. They're going to be great for the community. And the water park feature is something we're very excited about. Once we start getting some different pieces of the sports aspect vertical, we will, as a town, be able to feel comfortable enough to move forward on the water park thing that we know that many residents have been looking forward to. So there's a lot of good, a lot of positives in this project, and I think it's going to be great for Whitestown, not just in the short term as things go, but in the long term. Community building, financial stability and sustainability is paramount here. And I do believe that this is a deal that strikes a great balance between getting the project going and protecting taxpayers from any potential risk. So I'm excited on many different fronts and very happy to be here tonight to support this.
So just a few questions. With the design that you've provided us, do you see any major changes that are happening from this original design to kind of implementation in the next steps?
No, we don't. We think this is a very holistic and well thought through master plan. Again, with us being in this from the beginning of these conversations to now, we very much believe in this plan, believe it's an executable plan, and think the components that you're seeing and that we've presented both in this agreement and prior are very well executable for sure.
And there's still multiple steps as we go: concept plan, development plan, plan commission. Through this process, if any of the members ever have any questions, feel free. You can reach out to me and I can get with Brad and get you answers to those questions.
So the agreement's almost done. The structure of it's pretty well in place.
The structure of the deal is pretty much in place now. It's just a matter of them going and polishing up the drawings and applying to the state for the approvals, and then going through our plan commission approvals, the zoning. Everything's in place that needs to be for this project, and it's just now a matter of going through the steps we couldn't do without this in place, because you don't want to go through state approval, get approved, and then we have something change in our agreement. Now that our agreement's there, there's nothing holding the project back other than time for submittals.
Great. I know you worked really hard on this, Nathan. You've also been a great partner for us with Little League and the apartment program.
Appreciate it.
Look forward to a continued successful relationship.
I have a quick question. I think this property straddles Eagle and, is it Perry Township? Is that right?
Yes.
Is the section under Traders Point would be Perry? Do we know how the split is in terms of the residential pieces between Eagle and Perry?
We've looked at it, Michael. There is a partial split, but almost the entirety of it sits within Perry Township.
Okay. I guess it's something to consider that, there could, depending on how it lays out, you could have, one building of an apartment complex in Zionsville schools and the rest in Lebanon, or, just something to think about. Is the plan to ask for a TIF on the residential portion also? I mean, it's all in a TIF district, I know.
So there won't be any on the for sale, no TIF on the for sale units. The multifamily will have TIF and fall within. And we had the discussion, as you mentioned, the falling indifferent, because we do have that with the boulevard apartments here in town. And that has led to some confusion over time. People moving from one building to another within the same apartment complex and having to change school districts. So we had that discussion with Millhouse initially and wanted to ensure that we don't have that problem, to where if somebody moves from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, they have to shift school districts.
Yeah, for sure. I hope we're thoughtful about that. I appreciate that, Nathan. I guess as the planning gets finalized, I'd love to see. I know this picture I'm looking at is conceptual. I'd love to see kind of what the breakdown ends up being, but I know that's a little ways off. So I appreciate the input.
Yeah, we'll be able to provide an overlay with the township maps as we get a more refined residential plan. Residential plan, as you see it, is fairly well just a placeholder. The aggregate number of units is correct, but as the design progresses, we can provide that to commission and council.
Well, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Look forward to the next steps. Excited about this.
Thanks, everybody.
Next item on the presentations is end of year TIF impact.
Nathan, if I'm correct, since you have even though it's under presentations, you have a resolution up here. So you would like, the intent tonight was to consider the resolution for adoption so it can be heard on the council agenda this coming, this second Wednesday of the month, correct?
Correct.
All right. Then I would move the adoption of resolution 2021-30.
Second.
All right, can I get a
Motion, second. You call for further discussion.
all right, any further discussions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, so approve the motion for the resolution of 2021-30 for the Economic Development Agreement for Academy E Mixed Use Development.
Okay. We're good.
Okay. So moving on to the next presentation for the end of year TIF impact presentation for the Ready for
Evening, gents. So tonight, like it's pretty much laid out in the title of the presentation, it's the end of the year. It's the last reporting requirement owed by the Redevelopment Commission to the state of Indiana. It's just going to walk through. Obviously, we see all the physical impact that the RDC has on the community as far as the new structures and new development popping up, but what is the intrinsics, what are the financials behind it of the impact that TIF has on the community. So that being said, I'll just jump through this. If there's any questions, let me know. If not, I'll gladly answer them at the end or whenever they come up. So first page is basically just like I'd mentioned already, just outlining the existing reporting requirements owed to the state. We kind of see that this is the last box to check off for the year. And then soon enough, here in a couple of months, we'll be rolling into next year's. Tonight, discussion topics will basically just be financial data, where does the RDC stand right now, long-term plans, and then, like I said, the discussion on the actual impact itself. So next page is going to be inside the RDC. So Whitestown has 11 allocation areas, so sometimes hard to keep them straight. We have creation years, expiration years. The ones that have dashes next to them do not have an expiration year assigned to them yet. Finally, we can get a look into 2022 at the incremental assessed value that each allocation area has. Good news, over the years, Whitestown's Redevelopment Commission obviously has seen nothing but growth. And then looking at the next year, right at about $370 million is within Whitestown's Redevelopment Commission. Just kind of on this topic of incremental assessed value for those that might not be completely aware of what it is. That chart off there to the right side of this TIF overview page does an excellent job of kind of just describing TIF as a whole. There in the green, we see base AV, so what existing assessed values were within the parcels, the area before development come in, before TIF. The blue triangle there is going to be all the incremental assessed value that the TIF is then able to turn around and use to generate revenues to pour back in the community. And then finally, that brown-orange piece out to the right is the assessed value going back into the underlying units after the expiration of the TIF. Stepping into the financials, these are projections still as we're not completely closed out for the year. So beginning year balance will be actual. However, revenues, expenditures, and then the ending year balance are projections to this point. We basically just see that as far as cash goals and cash standing for all the funds, great positions and everything. So a lot of the, I guess 1.2 to point out real fast is a lot of the areas towards the bottom, those are newer. So that's why they're all kind of zeros at this time. Current projects and future plans that the Redevelopment Commission has. This year we've seen a lot of debt payments, which those are all honestly a lot synonymous with developer incentives to bring the development and bring the workers and all that stuff to the community. Traffic signal installation projects, street projects, sidewalk improvements, Whitestown's Redevelopment Commission's ongoing support of the connector route, planned property purchases if there's any, and then finally support for multifamily housing projects and stuff like that. Future plans, again, debt payments, keeping the town's credit rating high for lower the cost of issuance for any future debt payments down the road, further incentivization of development, community improvement projects, street sidewalk projects, items along those lines. So now we're going to kind of move into the nitty gritty. So what is TIF impact? The great question I like to ask to kind of shift into the realm of how to quantify TIF's impact is, so let's take the scenario and the question of what would top property tax collections look like today had Whitestown never utilized TIF, dating back to 2005 with Perry Industrial Park, yet all the development that we've seen within the community still located with here, regardless of any TIF incentives involved, regardless of anything that the RDC has been able to support to bring them to community, to ignore all that. So what would that look like? That's where we get into quantifying the impact. There on the far left, we see all overlapping units that have a tax rate within Whitestown taxing districts. In the gray, we see the actual impact. Impact, simple way to quantify it is just if the AV was not TIF'd, how much money would these units be collecting off the assessed value that's within the TIF? We see the percent total of impact, their 2021 budgets, they're certified, and then finally off to the far right, you see an impact as a percent of those budgets. So looking at that number, you see that there's nothing of large concern. There's no huge impact on any one of these units. Moving down the page, we see that the total impact to overlapping units is right about 2.2 million. That green number there, the 6.8 million, that's what the Redevelopment Commission collected this year in property taxes. So we see that because of TIF, because of the utilization of TIF, Whitestown was able to collect $4.6 million more in property taxes in 2021, leading to a TIF margin of 68 cents. A little bit further explanation on that page,
Real
obviously.
quick, just to make sure I'm
absolutely
tracking along here.
Yep.
All of this assumes that all of that growth and development would have happened without the TIF.
Yes. So any developer incentive projects or agreements that purely brought these development to Whitestown, yes, it's assuming that they still would have located here regardless of that.
Right. Even though you're 2 pages back, we're talking about payments to debt that we were making that were in fact those incentives that brought the project.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I was saying, moving to the next page, the TIF impact explained. So I kind of coined that 68 cents, what the TIF margin. So what is that? So for every $1 collected by the RDC, 68 cents of that dollar is being generated by the utilization of TIF. The main purposing behind that is because of the way property taxes are calculated for other underlying units, schools operations funds, the town's general fund. Obviously, we have max levy growth quotients there. They're limited as far as how much property taxes they can grow on year. TIF revenue calculation is a little bit different. They're able to capture more of the assessed value growth. Thus, they're able to turn that around and utilize those monies for the community. So simply put, 6.8 million was collected in the TIF revenues for this year. 4.6 of that was collected due to the town's utilization of TIF. And again, only 2.2 million of that off the same assessed value would have been generated for all underlying units had there not been TIF. And that right there is kind of what you would deem as TIF's impact. So I know that was a lot. If there's any questions, like I said, I'll gladly answer them now. Later in the future when they pop up in our eyes. So,
no, this is great. I think I'm assuming that this will be made available online for residents to view and download if needed. It's linked in the agenda, so I'm assuming that they'll be able to access that. I think that this is something that's really important, for all residents in Whitestown to take a look at, when they want to look at TIFs and agenda items that are coming before the redevelopment commission, they're being voted on, they may not necessarily have a full understanding of potential impact. So I think that this is great work and really appreciate you
Thank
making
you, I
this
appreciate
available.
that.
And something to note is he mentioned those TIF impacts with incentives to development. Most of that, I would say the vast majority of that is paying for infrastructure, roads, sewer, those kind of upgrades. Those are really the only expenses we cover and have covered through RDC as infrastructure improvements. So while it's incentive, it's just instead of making them pay for the roads and building the roads that everyone's using, we're using TIF dollars to help pay for those infrastructure improvements. And they are all developer backed to where they're taking the risk and liability on their development, not putting our taxpayers at risk with our general.
Any other questions for the time being, guys? I'll gladly throw them at me whenever. Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the next item is the approval of the minutes. Any questions about the previous meeting's minutes? Nope. Is there a motion to approve?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, say no. All right. Motion's approved to approve the previous meeting's minutes. So no unfinished business. So moving on to new business. Letter A, considering amending Declaratory Resolution 2021-27, amending Parkway West Economic Development Area Resolution.
Resolution 2021-27, declaratory resolution of the Town of Whitestown Redevelopment Commission removing certain property from the Whitestown Parkway West allocation area.
Anybody have any questions?
Do we have someone here to present, Dennis, or do you have more info for us?
I can give a few words about this resolution if the commission would like. This resolution relates to a project that's upcoming by the Bucknell company, and the next item on the agenda is actually a tax abatement application for that project. This project's located in an existing TIF area that was established by the commission last year called Parkway West. It's out west of I-65. There's not any addition going on to the TIF area or expansion here. This is actually removing properties from the TIF area. And the reason for doing so is part of this project is going to contemplate purchasing a series of residential homes that there's about 10 parcels of homes out there. Collectively, the assessed value of those homes is $1 to $1.4 million. And the concern is that if those parcels aren't removed from the TIF area, it's going to create a drag on the tax increment. It'll be tax decrement. And for those that have been around a while, if you remember the hospital property here was in the Anson TIF, and we had to pull that out of the TIF area because it converted from a for-profit to a nonprofit and created a hole in the TIF area. So that's very much what's going on here. It's just to kind of safeguard the increment, and so we're not penalized. Well, the town's not penalized as a result of this project and those houses being torn down.
And I guess I just have one follow-up question. I don't think there is, but if you can help keep me honest, there's really no impact to the current homeowners with this.
No, not at all. It doesn't change any of the taxes they pay or anything like that. It's kind of you'll hear the word decrement sometimes. An increment always is something you assume you're having growth, but decrement can occur when you have lowering assessed values within your TIF area, and it's something is looking and managing your TIF areas you want to keep an eye out for, and you'll sometimes hear the word pruning be referred to, where you'll actually go through and you might pull some properties out that for whatever reason, maybe the business owners, if they went bankrupt, the properties haven't been kept up, or they've converted to nonprofit status. you'll want to pull those out because they'll create a drag on your incremental value.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right. Can I get a motion to approve declaratory resolution 2021-27, amending the Parkway West Economic Development Area?
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor, or all those opposed say nay. All right, motion's approved for declaratory resolution of 2021-27, amending the Parkway West Economic Development Area. Moving on to item B, resolution for 2021-28, approving the expansion of the Green Park Economic Development Resolution, Revitalization Area, and approving the tax abatement application for Bucknell Industrial LLC. Somebody here from Bucknell.
You want me to speak a little bit on this one, Nathan?
Yep, if you want, which Blair's here if we do have questions. And this is a non-standard abatement too. If we want to speak on that.
Yeah, I'll touch a little bit on it, and then Blair, if you want to talk a little bit about the project, maybe for the commission's benefit. But like most abatements that come before the town, they come before the Redevelopment Commission, not really as a matter of law, but as a matter of the town's policy of running economic and redevelopment matters before the commission, before they're considered by the council. So that's what you have with this resolution. And you'll see that it talks about expanding an economic revitalization area. And kind of like Tiff's, when we have economic development areas, you can only do a tax abatement in an economic revitalization area. So we'll kind of target areas, and you'll create a map, and you'll say, okay, you can do tax abatements within that area. This proposed project is adjacent to what we've called the Green Park ERA. And Green Park was the predecessor to what we call the Park 130 project. And that ERA, I think the commission actually expanded that earlier this year with an upcoming potential expansion of Park 130, but this project's located on a couple of parcels immediately to, I think, the southwest of that ERA. So we're expanding the ERA and then at the same time approving the tax abatement. And as Nathan mentioned, it's not a traditional 10-year abatement. It's a fixed, is it 49.5% for 10-year abatement. And I think the purpose of that is to help with a potential economic development revenue bond that might be pursued in connection with this project. And this will go before the town council, and then there'll be a public hearing and back again before the town council before it's finally adopted.
Any other questions or comments?
So is this simply for a recommendation to the town council?
Okay. Yep, that's always been the practice, yeah.
Okay. And we can consider these as one resolution, one item, or would be the expansion be one and then the approval of tax?
It is contained in one resolution. We need the expansion to do the abatement, and you kind of want the abatement to drive the expansion.
Got it. Thank you.
Very good. All right.
Do we know what kind of project they're looking at putting there?
Hi, Claire Collette with the Boone EDC. So for this project, Bucknell is planning to construct a 736,000 square foot and 182,000 square foot building. They're asking, like we said, 10-year, 49.5% tax abatement. And they're planning on doing a $65 million capital investment. And we estimate with those numbers that it would be a $9 million real property levy with an $8.7 million benefit to Bucknell. So.
And they're putting up these structures because they have reasonably considered that there are tenants available that are looking for our spaces?
I do not know of any identified user at this point, but there is always interest in Whitestown, so I'm assuming it won't take long.
And this area where we're expanding to, are we going to have to consider, I guess, any zoning changes in the future? Is it? I'm not familiar with what this area is currently zoned as.
No, we've already got zoning approvals for this area.
Okay.
It's the section on 475 in between 500 and 600 South. Bucknell is developing on the end near 600, and Lord Realty with Peterson is developing on the north end. And just west of this, those parcels is where the future Ronald Reagan is planned. So this is part of the deal, and then we're working with them with Abatement and Tiff towards also completely reconstructing 475 and offsets on 600 to prepare for the additional traffic once the Reagan is there. We know this will be an outlet from the Reagan, and Blair is also here with Bucknell if there's additional questions on the project.
Nathan, this goes back to what we had conversations on this commission just a few months ago, where we got that report from Cushman Wakefield talking about the available actual inventory of space Whitestown has and how limited that is because, as the EDC just mentioned, every time we open up a new building, there is users looking to get in, and there's interest from the community, and we start seeing these spaces eaten up very quickly, which is why these proposals keep coming to us. Is that inaccurate?
Yes, and I'm getting multiple, probably 4 or 5 a month from Claire of looking for spots in Whitestown, and we don't have the inventory to even apply for half of them that come through, just because we don't have enough inventory ready. And while it seems we've got a lot, the signs may still be up, but there's already a tenant. They just leave that expensive sign up until the tenant puts their sign up. And Blair can contest, it's their, and same with the project to the north, they were going to construct one building, now they're constructing 2, and Strategic Capital said they were going to do one of theirs, they're doing all 3 now. So it's...
You're in, I'm Blair Carmesino with Bucknell, and you're absolutely right. We can get, in this market right now, we can't get these up quick enough. As soon as we get them up, they're getting leased. It's a crazy market right now. The thing that slows us down is the prices of steel and precast and delivery of all that. So we've studied this project at length, as Nathan can attest, but we've been on it for about a year, and we're confident we have all the pieces together. This being the next step to memorialize the tax abatement and the TIF. And we're anticipating breaking ground probably next March if we can get through some final negotiations with some capital groups. And we're anticipating having the buildings fully up and occupied at the end of 2023, so the assessed value will kick in 2024. And momentum's great right now. And this will be, we worked hard on this because we have product in Whitestown, Zionsville, and those are occupied. This is our last play. It's to stay in this vibrant market right now. So, be happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, and the tax abatement rate. It is a weird schedule, if you will, but it was solely based on making sure the bond would work. It puts us at a disadvantage. However, when I introduced it as for a discussion item, I think it made sense for the town because first years you'll be getting more money than you would otherwise. So we're anxious to see how it goes because being a level TIF like that, we're anxious to see how it plays in the market. So.
And I'll say also with Bucknell, this property was looked at by multiple developers over time we've worked with, and we kept running into a lot of the same infrastructure issues. A lot of those roads out there were old country roads. They're not made, so it requires some heavy upgrades and some heavy lifting. And Bucknell was willing to come to table. We spent a lot of time, as we kept saying, spreading that developer magic dust, trying to make this project work. And we finally have a project that will work here. And so,
awesome. The building itself, is it double loaded from a distribution standpoint, or is it going to be able to be demised? Or
well, the trend we're seeing right now, I mean, the amount of million square footers you're seeing in the market and how quickly they're getting gobbled up is crazy. This one has a 700 and 53,000 square footer. It will be a cross-dock facility. The other amenity that they're looking for is trailer staging. So we just put a lot of trailer staging on the perimeter. So we believe it's perfectly poised to meet the current market demands. And down on the south side is a smaller 182,000 square foot single loader, docks facing not the public right of way, but into the park. And it's more of a traditional, I'll call it a stable building that still is getting gobbled up, in the 100 range. There's users coming out of Park 100 that are growing, and they're coming up here to get in a bigger building because they've outgrown their small initial buildings. So we think that's a good play too for this market. But unfortunately, we can't build the 1 million square footer. It's just the land's not shaped or suitable for that. But
Of the opportunities that you're seeing, what kind of job creation and wages are kind of coming in as for the projects that you're seeing across your desk that Nathan referenced?
Yeah, I would say for Boone County, the average wages are about $19.98 these days. So we're kind of being strategic and encouraging companies to consider that wage before they come in, and that also plays into our incentive packages, and we customize that for each user that does come into the county. So I would say jobs wise, it's a tough market these days. So majority I would say are 100 jobs or less.
No further questions.
I move the adoption of Resolution 2021-28.
Second?
All right, any other further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no. All right, motion approved for Resolution 2021-28 for the Green Park Economic Revitalization Area. Tax abatement application. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number C, Resolution 2021-29, approving the amendment to lease and matters related to the issuance of the Redevelopment Authority lease rental multi-purpose refunding revenue bonds.
I'll touch upon this if it's all right. Well, way back in 2005 with the Perry Industrial Park TIF, a large series of bonds was issued, developer-backed TIF bonds. And over time, those bonds have been refinanced, sometimes for savings or just a restructuring. The most recent of those was done back in 2015. The town was able to take very successful opportunity in the market because of low interest rates and issued $25 million of refunding bonds that generated roughly a $7 million project fund for the town that helped them go out and do some fire station improvements and other improvements out there by the Perry Industrial Park. The purchasers of those bonds were two institutions. One of them was Capital One Public Funding that's out east. And then the other piece of that bond was purchased by First Merchants Bank. And we worked with Landon Bain as the underwriter and Reedy Financial on that issue as financial advisor. Since that time, we've kind of been keeping our eyes on that bonds to see if there's an opportunity to work with the holders to do a refunding of those. And it's really up to those bondholders whether or not they'll agree to do it, because by the terms of those bonds, they're really not callable yet. But Landon Bain has been specifically talking with Capital One and First Merchants, and they're at a point now where they're agreeable to waiving their call rights in a deal that would generate present value savings of $1 million to the town. And this has happened pretty quickly. So I apologize for not much more lead time on this, but we got these numbers, I think, middle of last week. And so we're trying to move on it quickly. This would also go before the Redevelopment Authority and the Town Council. But ultimately, this is a pure refunding bond issue. The payment dates don't change. What this will really mean is lower debt service in the future going forward, which will free up tax increment in the Perry Industrial Park, because that's the source of payment for the bonds.
So I just want to say thank you to Dennis and to his team and to Nathan and all the folks that are working on this. We've instructed them to continuously and constantly look for opportunities in the marketplace to be able to refinance or refund different obligations so that we could maximize our benefit to taxpayers. And this was an opportunity we just couldn't pass up. And I'm very happy to have in front of us, seeing that present day value of $1 million savings over the next course. That's going to have a great benefit, not just to the increment area, but to the entire town with what we're able to do and how the funding flexibility it gives us moving forward. So very thankful for the team to bring this forward. And, as always, I say thank you to the work. I appreciate the RDC and their support of this so we can get it adopted and then for them to continue to look for more opportunities so we can continuously be saving for the taxpayers.
Quick question.
These bonds, good question, Mark. These bonds go out to 2034. And it's two components. We call them the Series A and Series B bonds. As I mentioned, there was Capital One purchased the Series A bonds. Those go out to August 1, 2026, and those are out for about $2.7 million. And then First Merchants holds the longer bond out to 2034. It's about $16.5 million. And so Capital One basically has agreed to just lower interest rate. And if the commission members will recall, we did this earlier this year on a very similar refunding, although that deal has some unique structuring components too that allowed us to free up the Anson Tiff and get that pledge off. But the $16.5 million piece, we're looking at doing an actual underwriting for that, going out in the market. So we'll go back to the rating agency and be in front of the rating agency again to do that component. The call option on the B bonds still to be determined, but yeah, it'll probably be a 10-year call or whatever the market industry is. Yeah.
So another thing to note on this is we will be going back out for a rating on this. And the last time we went for our rating, we had a positive outlook. So we're hoping, from what we see, we feel we've met all those requirements. So we're actually hoping to get a better rating as we go forward. We'll see, because obviously we were told then towns, municipalities of our size, is hard to rate us much higher. But if we can get, and it still looks good to show that we're at least continuing with our rating and things are positive. So.
Great time to issue.
Any other questions or comments? Motion to approve 2021-29.
Move to approve. Resolution number 2021-29.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any further comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right, motion approved. Resolution 2021-29. The issuance of the Redevelopment Authority lease rental multi-purpose refunding revenue bonds. Moving on to item D, the patch development project tax abatement documents. Talk about that.
So hang on, I'm mute Molly here.
Hi everyone, can you all see me, can you hear me?
Yep.
Sure can.
Perfect. Molly Whitehead, Executive Director of the Boone EDC. Let me pull up these documents here. Apologies, I've got a little one next to me, being very, very patient. Okay, so what you have in front of you is a tax abatement request from Patch Development. They are looking at a spec development similar to what you all heard from Bucknell about. This is about a 570,000 square foot building on 450 East, and they are requesting a 10-year real property tax abatement. The numbers you'll note on the application, and this was just at my direction. I went ahead and told them I would just run the calculations. And so what you are looking at, based upon a $25 million capital investment, we estimate a $3.4 million real property levy with a $3.3 million benefit to Patch Development. And again, this is the 10-year standard tax abatement. You don't see any personal property because, again, no user's been identified. No local income tax calculations are a part of that as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all have.
Molly, this is just a standard 10-year develop, 10-year.
Correct.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I would just like to mention I was talking with President Hess before this meeting, and I conferred with my partner Steve Unger on the effective date for the annexation for this parcel, and Steve indicated to me that the final effectiveness of the annexation will be November 16th. So we don't want to have the Redevelopment Commission take any formal action on this until that annexation is effective, and so what we would look to do would be to have a resolution before the commission for its December meeting, and at this point just sort of take this under consideration for information purposes and questions.
So we won't be voting on anything for this.
No.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just look forward to seeing this on the December agenda.
All right. Moving on, Molly, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
See your mom's forehead right there hanging out. All right, since we have no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second?
Congratulations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor say no. Motion